Welcome to Microsoft invited me behind the scenes of Business Central with a camera.
I'm Eric, and today I'm not in my dungeon. And behind me are not all the usual old computers. No, behind me is actually the headquarter of Business Central. This is Microsoft in Denmark. So I have traveled 1,000 kilometers to go on a visit here. And you know, when Microsoft said that, hey, we're using containers and so on, they're not kidding. If you look behind me, see this big container, the blue one, that is actually the entrance to Microsoft. So I was thinking, where is the grand entrance? But no, this is the entrance to Microsoft. So we better go in and check out how Business Central is made, who's making Business Central. And to do that, we have to go into the big container through the revolving doors that are coming up here. And let's see if we can meet some people who are working with Business Central. But first I have to get through check-in and so on, so I'll talk to you later. Now I have managed to corner Vincent, and Vincent has promised to answer some of all the great questions you guys have asked on Twitter, and we found a little corner here. So
hey everybody.
Hey Vincent, what do you do at Microsoft?
Yeah, I'm the chief architect for Business Central. Been working with Business Central for a little more than 10 years now, and my team and I, we are trying to spearhead a little what's going to happen with in the next generation of Business Central in terms of evolution of the architecture of the product, and we also look at some of the hard problems to solve. I have some of the best people in the organization reporting to me, and there's really hard nuts to crack. That's usually something that falls into my team.
So when was the last time you actually wrote a line of code for Business Central?
Production code, it was quite a while ago.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you do something kind of cool with all the phone and tablet and the web?
Yeah, before I became the chief architect for Business Central, I used to work in the client team, and that was the era where we actually introduced the mobile clients, starting with the tablets and then the phones after that. So I've been I've been working with that for a number of years.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was great. It was interesting times.
So what did you do before you came to Microsoft?
I work in different companies. I used to work for a company that made medical equipment. I was making software for medical analysis apparatus in a Danish company. Doing that for 11 years or so.
And where did you go to school?
In France.
Well, that's the accent. We can hear there's an accent.
Yeah,
so Vincent is actually fluent in Danish also, and English, as we can hear, but he's also French.
Yeah, and apologize for the accent. But
well, we all have one,
yeah.
And these guys are used to hearing me.
Yeah.
So you went to school in France.
Yes.
And in Denmark also?
Yeah, no, actually I came to Denmark for an internship. I wanted to do something abroad and kind of expand my horizons, and so that's why I came to Denmark, and I met my wife here, and then 30 years later here I am still in Denmark. Yeah,
that's awesome. Now I'm in the middle of all these offices, and I have found Jacob. Hi, Jacob. So,
Hi.
what do you do at Microsoft?
I am part of the team that designs the user interface for Business Central.
And I think we have spoken earlier. And I think you are responsible for a very, very specific piece of visualization UI. The Business Central logo.
Well, we are working as a team, and we have visual designers, we have researchers, we have interaction designers, and the Business Central icon we use now was sort of conceived in my team in its original black and white monochrome form, and then there was a recent branding where the icons were refreshed
and pumped with colors and so on. But so you told me a long time ago something about a subway map of New York.
Yes, the original sort of ideas we started from for the icon were that the central, the business, and the association we got and worked from was that of systems connected like trains moving from station to station in a very coordinated and synchronized fashion, and that led us to sort of the association to the New York metro maps, which are from a visual design perspective a very sort of fantastic piece of design. And we took that and built the icon from that idea.
That is very cool. So what did you do before you came to Microsoft?
Before I came to Microsoft, I was at the university, actually. I worked at a project.
What university?
The IT University of Copenhagen.
The IT University of Copenhagen. And what degree did you get from there?
That was a PhD degree. I was in computer science.
Excellent. So how did you end up here?
Well, the university had at the time a cooperation with Microsoft. At the time, it was Microsoft Business Solution. There was offices in Vedbæk, and we were a team of students who were connected to a project that Microsoft ran and got funding for. So I was lucky enough to be part of that funding and got some connections in Microsoft that then landed me the job when I graduated.
That's very cool. Thanks for talking with me.
Sure. Nice to meet you.
Too. Now I have wandered around again and I found myself in the app team, and right here is Ihor. And
hi, Eric.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Let's see if we can get you in the focus. So, what do you do?
So I am a part of the app team, as you said, and in particular I work on system application primarily, developing some new modules.
So what modules have you developed?
You may know stuff like the user sync wizard that like update users from Office 365.
Oh yeah. So whenever we have issues with the licenses not matching the users and stuff, we have to go into the user listings and pull the update so we get the new stuff. Very cool. How long have you been with Microsoft?
4 years.
4 years. What did you do before that?
It's actually my first full-time job. I had 2 internships before in SAP and Samsung.
Okay. And where did you go to school? What did you study?
I studied computer science in Kyiv, Ukraine, in Taras Shevchenko University.
Okay. So how did you end up here?
So my internship in SAP was in Germany, and I was working, I guess, on an ERP solution as well, and I was contacted by a recruiter from Microsoft, and kind of, hey, we are working on Dynamics products here in Denmark, would you be interested in?
So how did the recruiter find you? Did you have a LinkedIn profile?
Yeah.
Or okay, very, very cool. Thanks for being part of the video.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're crossing this magic boundary where we're going from the
ways have worked. Answers some others. Something like that.
And actually we got a monster up here for some reason.
Okay, so let's look at some of the questions from Twitter, and it's okay if you don't answer them or if you give me the company spiel, but maybe there are some good answers.
I'll do my best.
Hidden where. So one of the questions was about onboarding. We see more and more that people get on to the system without actually a partner, and this, as BC and NAB before, that has been very partner driven. What do you guys think about supporting customers coming onto the platform without a partner?
So, just to be clear, the whole investment we've made into onboarding, we have no intention of removing partners from the loop, but it's just a realization that getting started with using this, starting to transact, is sometimes a painful and lengthy affair. Like you start using the product, but then there's all sorts of things you need to learn and get acquainted with, and it takes a little while before you actually are proficient with using the product. And we have this great mantra for, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but for a lot of our SaaS product, which is 5 by 5, 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to wow. And that's kind of a hard to. Some of the other products of our, we have in Microsoft do that very well. You can sign up very quickly, and after 5 minutes you are wow.
So what kind of unit do you want to put? 5 what? So the first invoice.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We are trying to. We realize it's a little bit difficult to do a 5 seconds, 5 minute experience for ERP for all sorts of good reasons. ERP is in a sense somewhat more complex than some other products. But maybe we would, maybe a 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to, wow, and maybe 5 days to transact would be a pretty okay goal to achieve. But anyway, getting back to the onboarding investments, we realized that so that's our way to try to get there. And onboarding is not, by the way, it's a customizable platform. So we expect the partners to adopt this and provide onboarding content for their solution, because otherwise it's not going to work. So we really encourage all our partners to use the platform, use the onboarding capabilities we're introducing, and give us some feedback about it, so we can. The idea being, again, having customers, easily, starting to use the product.
Okay, let's. Another question that came was, and you're clearly the guy to answer this. So I have been talking to a lot of different people in different teams, and I've just used kind of generic labels saying app or dev or server. How are you guys actually organized?
Yeah, so we have maybe 2 larger groups within our product. One is working on the app primarily, and the other one is working on what we call the platform. And then within these groups there are subdivisions. And teams are about 5 or 6 people or more in size, depending on what area we are talking about. And we have some people, for instance, working on the server, obviously, where people working on the client. But then there is also the more less visible part of the product, which is all the what we call the control plane, which is the machinery that actually manage our service in Azure. When you sign up for Business Central, all sorts of things happen behind the scene to provision an instance, and when we upgrade, when we monitor what's going on. So there's a lot of machinery beside the product that the bits you're familiar with from the on-prem world, the client and the server.
There's a lot of stuff besides the stuff that's on the DVD.
Exactly.
So we know about the waves, but how far ahead are you guys? Are you working on version 24 right now?
Well, we have so we meet, in a leadership team. We meet twice a week. Not twice a week, but twice a year, and go on an offsite, and we discuss we have discussions about 2024, or maybe even beyond that. Now, of course, these discussions are more in terms of visions and where we want to go to with the product. It's more at the strategy and vision level rather than actual features.
So if I were allowed to go and poke anybody on this floor and say, what version are you working on? They are actually right now mostly working on version 21.
Everybody, if you go and talk to anybody in the office right now, they're working on the next wave.
Okay, that's awesome.
So we have a very well-established process where we take our strategy, which we formulate at the leadership level, and then translate that into a backlog, and we look at the back, which are actually features and actual work for developers to do. And then we go through a prioritization exercise, and we decide, out of that work, we decide what's going to be part of the next wave. And there are some things that don't make it for the next wave. And the advantage of having this 6 months wave is like, if it doesn't make it for this wave, then probably it's going to make it for the next wave.
So one of the, switching context here for just a bit, so one of the things that had been, everybody's favorites or everybody's not favorite are tables and extensions and how that works. So when we add a new field to the table, we get the field it's stored in a different table on SQL. A lot of people hate this, while some people like it. There's a lot of limitations, and we have sometimes to design things differently. Why, and this is one of the questions from Twitter, why didn't you guys just add the fields to the original table?
That's a very good question. Actually, if some of you might recall, we had a first version of what we call extension version 1, which was our first attempt from a design standpoint.
This was back in 2017-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And this original design, which was the first design of the extension model, was exactly like that. We would add the extended field, we would add them directly to the table. What we figured out back then was there was a number of problems with it, mostly related to upgrade. So we wanted to upgrade the service from one version to the next, and we made changes internally to the extended table. There was all sorts of things that make it a little more difficult. And then we modified the design in version 2, where we chose to have a separate table, which basically allows you to do whatever you want with the primary table. But we've been, the performance aspect is a good point, because we have been actually discussing, and that's again, it's just discussions at that stage. But I was discussing with Jens, who is responsible for the server team, and we had some conversations about maybe going back to the model where for performance reasons. But with some new ideas on how we could handle performance. So it's not, nothing is, carved in stone, and if we figure out a good way to make it, more performant and still be able to address these upgrade issues, we might go back to that design.
Interesting. Interesting. If that ever happens, I'm sure there will be more than one dedicated video on the channel about it. Now I have wandered into the server team, so let's see who we have here. Let me get a chair. I think. So, hey, what's your name?
Yeah,
My name is Mads Gram.
So yeah, what do you do here?
So I work in the server team, one of them at least, and mainly that comprises of working on what some people might remember as the NST. I'm sure you do. Erik.
So you're working on the service tier. What is actually running a service? It's not what's on the client. It's so you're. Are you the guy with all the records?
Yes,
Are you handling
to some
the
degree?
database?
I definitely handle the records. So what I like to say is we are the team that is responsible for running your AL code and all the things that is necessary to run AL code. So all of the basic functionality in the record API, for example, or all of the other ones you provide. We provide. So that would be, I don't know, select latest version, commit, whatever else you need to be able to do whatever you do, run all the code you write.
So are you the guy responsible for table extensions?
Well, so table extension was decided before I came. That was developed by some other smart people. And I have been working a lot on changing the way we do table extensions. I was one of the main people working on partial records. That was actually my design that ended up winning, and my implementation also.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
So
what did you do before you came to Microsoft?
So I actually came to Microsoft as a student worker while I was still studying.
Where did you study?
I studied at the University of Copenhagen, which you also did, I believe.
Briefly. Briefly.
Which is the largest university here. And before that, while I was doing that.
So how were you recruited? How did you get the student worker job?
So it's actually quite funny because on LinkedIn, some recruiter from Microsoft wrote to me, asked if I want to do an internship in America, and I said that sounds fun, but I rather want a student job. And then that recruiter said, well, let me just forward you to Microsoft. Then MDCC was called. That's a technical term, but yeah. And
Microsoft Development Center Copenhagen.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Which is where we are right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know back then if that was this location. It probably was.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I ended up. I did some interviews, and the people back then, some of them are still here, liked me very much.
Awesome.
And said yes.
So you're working on exciting new features for the next version that you're not allowed to tell me about?
Yes, unfortunately.
Excellent. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah,
thanks, Mads.
Go read release notes. Then
I
you can
do.
almost guess what I'm working on.
I do. So thanks, Mads.
Yep.
Apparently they do other things than just ERP programming here. For some reason, I'm still allowed to wander around on the hallways here, and I think I have gotten into the dev tool department, and there's somebody sitting here. Let's see if we can get the camera in focus. There we go.
Hello.
What's your name?
Steffen Balslev.
Steffen. So, Steffen, what do you do? What do you do at Microsoft?
So I'm an engineering manager in the developer tools team, and I'm trying to balance all the requests we get together with our program owner to figure out how to organize execution.
So when we're talking development tools, we're talking what people like me are using in Visual Studio.
Exactly.
But we're also talking about what's actually on the server handling the code, because
Well, so we're sharing the responsibility with the runtime team. Our job as the owners of the developer tools is the deployment. So getting the components into a package and pushing them to the server and unwrapping them on the server so that the server can start executing on it. So we kind of stop at the runtime.
So explain to all the people that in reality the AL compiler is not really a compiler, it's more of a transpiler.
Yeah.
Because what is the AL compiler actually doing?
So we understand the syntax and get the whole tree structure and dependencies and all that thing kind of in order, and then we convert it into C#, which is then compiled into assemblies, and the assemblies are actually what's executing on the server, and that's interacting with the runtime.
So you're saying that when I write AL code, eventually that is actually executed as well, not even IL, because that gets just in time compiled, I guess, into pure assembler.
Yeah, so we were converting to C# and then compiling that into normal DLLs.
So whatever we do in AL is eventually actually a true binary code.
Yes,
pretty-
essentially.
That's pretty cool. So how long have you been with Microsoft?
Oh, I think I'm on my 14th year.
And what did you do before?
Oh, I've been everywhere.
No,
So I started up in the application integration team, where we did like Outlook integration and employee portal, for those of you who remember that.
Oh, what's that? No, that was earlier. It was done in Java.
Yeah, that's way early. Yeah. So long time ago.
Yeah.
and then I moved on to some platform stuff, and we had the Office team that were integrating with SharePoint and doing those first iterations on actually integrating with the Office products, and deeper than just Word merge, right? And then I became part of the platform team, the runtime team. And then I had my own team over here, the server management team, doing the orchestration of the data plane, the clusters that we have in cloud. And now I have the developer tools team.
What's your education?
Oh, I'm a, what you call it, a datamatiker, it's called.
So how do we translate that into? That's like a bachelor?
Yeah, it's a little less than a bachelor if you...
Candidate?
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I don't know.
I don't know, it's
so
not really.
2 years.
I know it's like 3.5 years.
Okay,
but,
okay.
Yeah. So it's a short education, but I had lots and lots of real world experience
That's awesome.
before I started with Microsoft. Yeah,
That's awesome. Thanks for talking with me.
thank you.
Let's continue to another question. So since you took this on-prem software, which has been running on-prem for decades, you took that to the cloud. What was the biggest mistake? What did you do wrong, or is there something that you really got right?
So that's also a good question. I don't know if I would call it mistake, but if I look back at the history of the product, there are a few things.
Hindsight is
Yes,
20/20,
exactly,
right?
exactly. There are a few things that I wish we had done differently.
But we need an example.
Yeah, I can mention a couple of these. So I don't know if any of you remember, but our first attempt to go to the cloud was not a SaaS solution; that was a PaaS solution.
Yeah.
Where we provided basically the basic infrastructure, and then so we kind of made basically we developed a portal through which partners could upload their solution, and they would upload their basically everything, their executable and the database, and we provision that in the cloud. So it was the very first version of Business Central in the cloud, but it was more of a PaaS model.
This was already on NAV 2017.
Yes, and that's that was, I don't know if it was a mistake, but clearly when we at some stage we decided to go for a true SaaS implementation, which was always been the long-term goal. And moving, we had some number of customers and partners in the PaaS world, and it took us a while to get them converted to SaaS solution, and they also had all sorts of performance issues and other issues in managing this PaaS model. So that was maybe not the best experience for them. And looking back, maybe we should have, again in hindsight, maybe it should have been the right decision to go directly to SaaS. But on the other hand, it's always easy.
I don't think the platform was ready for that.
Exactly.
Right?
Maybe the platform wasn't ready for it. Maybe there's a lot of things happen also in in the technology stack. In Azure there was a lot of things, technologies we're leveraging today, like Service Fabric and SQL, Azure SQL, which were not maybe quite mature at that stage, or maybe not suited to our needs. So it's hard to tell, whether it would have been the right path, or but that was short, that was definitely a shorter path to the cloud, for sure.
So in that context, are the stuff, technical depth, stuff in the platform that you want to get rid of?
Yeah, so there is, this product, as you mentioned before, is not born in the cloud, and actually we have, in my team we have a vision on the architecture side, which is evolve the products, the code base into something where you could not distinguish it if it was born in the cloud. Like, if we were to implement an ERP system today, which was
Clean slate
and cloud based, we would not design it as it is designed today, right? Even though you would provide the exact same set of functionality and same type of platform, we would probably develop it differently in terms of architecture and design. But what we've been doing is we've been migrating what we had for the on-prem, and we still want to, we don't want to abandon our on-prem customers, so we still have the same. It's the same code base. What we deploy in the cloud or we deploy in the on-prem is the same code base, but that has some, of course, some drawbacks. And one of the biggest things, if I should mention one, is
you need to.
Yeah. So our, the NST or server today is, for good reasons, has evolved, in on-prem world into something that could do a lot of things. We call it, maybe sometimes, we joke about it and say it's the Swiss knife, because it has a lot of responsibilities. It takes care of the data, it takes care of the EL runtime, it takes care of
it's a monolith.
Security. It's a monolith, from the good old, on-prem days. And we have started breaking that monolith into smaller pieces. For example, I'll give you an example. In the cloud, the whole licensing thing is taken care of by a different service, which is outside of the NST. We used to be something that the NST would take care of. And we have some, we want to actually, long term, we want to make it a pure EL runtime component. So it has a single area of responsibility. Today it takes care of caching as well, for example, just another thing, between the different NSTs, and so there's a lot of things going on in the NST, which it takes care of reporting. We also do some work to actually get reporting outside of the NST as a separate service. That's an ongoing work we have as well. So that's been probably the biggest and the hardest death we have, if you could call it that. But we have an intention of breaking, the monolith into more, standalone services which each have a very clear area of responsibility.
So the monolith right now runs on .NET Framework, version 4.8 or something like that. From Microsoft perspective, .NET Framework is almost legacy, right? Now it's all about .NET Core.
Yes.
Do we get Business Central on .NET Core?
Yes. I can't give you the date exactly, but I can tell you that it's going to be soon.
Okay.
And probably not in this wave, but we are very close, and we have been working on the last 2 years or so on migrating the NST to .NET Core.
Would that give me the ability to run the NST on an Apple computer?
Well, that's
because .NET Core.
That's a good question.
Or Linux.
So that's a good question. That's not a goal per se to support Linux for the NST. That might be an interesting side effect of it. Our primary goal is to, as you said, to move to a the latest and greatest .NET platform, and also benefit from a lot of the performance improvement that the .NET Core has.
I guess you guys have already done a lot of since you're that close. So how much faster is the NST on .NET Core compared to Framework?
We don't know. It's hard to tell because
Is it slower?
No, it's going to be faster. That's
Okay,
for sure. That's our expectation at least. So the approach we've had, imagine that the EST is made of a lot of components, right? And there's a like a dependency graph which we have drawn, and we before you can actually run on .NET Core, you need to convert every single component to .NET Core. If you just have one, which is not on .NET Core, you need to run in your
viral.
That's just the way it is, right? So the approach we've had is that we migrated. We started with both a bottom up and top down from looking at the dependency graph. So we took some of the components at the top and converted them to this thing called .NET Standard, which allows you to still be running in .NET Framework, but also is compatible with .NET Core.
So it's .NET Standard is like a subset of .NET that within the subset that is compatible with all the different .NET platforms that's out there.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we took also some of the components at the bottom, and at some stage, both ends will meet, and we'll be able to flip the big switch and say, okay, now we run in .NET Core. So far we haven't been able to actually run it in .NET, run the NST in .NET Core yet. One of the big thing we are working on now, which is going to be released at I think I can reveal that, is that we had this communication protocol between the client piece, the client services, and the server, the NST, which are running on WCF, and that was one of the big roadblock for .NET Core, because there's no WCF version running on .NET Core, and a lot of the communication protocol, the entire communication protocol was based on WCF, and we actually in the process of finalizing the conversion to.
So are you saying that you are actually running SOAP internally?
WCF, yeah. Yes.
So you heard it here first.
Yeah. So I don't think that's a secret.
No, I don't think so.
But that was again at the time that was introduced. That was the technology that was
Is the client, when the client talks to the NST through now I guess the client talks to the web server, like it talks to the NST. That is actually WebSockets, some of it, isn't it?
No, that's not.
There's no WebSockets. No, okay, no. So there's are there ideas about adding a more a faster protocol?
Yeah, but that's exactly what we've been doing. So we're replacing the entire WCF with a different stack.
Okay.
And we've been through. We try different things, and I think we nailed it now. I don't want to say too much about it because it's.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think you'll see. You'll see a lot of difference even on-prem, because I mean that's mostly internal communication, and that's not something we document or advertise as such. It's just internal communication between the client and the server.
Implementation detail, but if we get the benefit of this being faster, then
yeah, it should be faster. And that was also one of the big blocker for moving to .NET Core, because again, as long as you have just one library which is not .NET Core, then you need to stay on the old .NET framework. So,
an example of the difference between legacy.NET or .NET Core you can actually experience in the AL compiler and the tooling in Visual Studio Code, where there's a switch saying, hey, use legacy code, or so the default is actually .NET Core in the whole compiler stack at this point, as far as I can see.
Yes.
At least the client-side compiler stack.
And actually, we don't. I can also let you on a little secret. We actually can run Visual Studio Code on the Mac platform.
I think people actually knows that.
Yeah.
That works fine.
Yeah, no, I mean Visual Studio Code works, but also with the EL extension.
Yeah, that does.
I don't believe we publish we need to. So we can when we compile the EL extension, we can compile it for Linux.
Yeah.
So it runs on Linux, but I don't believe we publish it. The published version is not a Linux compatible version because we don't test it, so we don't publish it. But it does work. I know because I've been playing with it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Vincent, for
My pleasure.
for answering all these questions, and thank you guys for asking them. And hopefully, we covered most of them. Future Eric here, back in the cave. I want to say a few things about this, but first I want to thank Microsoft for inviting me in and allow me to film inside. And a big thanks to those who with little to no warning stepped in front of the camera. The first thing I want to say is that I hope you could ignore the shaky camera during the Vincent talk. It was shot during my vacation and I did not travel with tripods, so everything was handheld, but I feel that it was very interesting, all the things he told, so I kind of left it there, even though some of it was a bit shaky. I'm sorry about that. Second, I am aware that these were all male participants. Not intentional, and it did not represent the Business Central team. The interviews was shot on a single day during summer vacation and combined with work from home, and it just turned out that the lineup that day did not represent the diversity of the BC team. Maybe I get invited another time and get a chance to rectify this. Lastly, and maybe most important, I want to thank you. And I want to thank you because a big part of actually getting permission to do this is because you're subscribed to the channel. And if you're not subscribed, maybe come subscribe and be part of the club. This would have never been possible unless all of you guys were subscribing to the channel. So a big thanks for doing that. Anyway, now it's time to get back to programming, and this video is for great AL programming. Go check it out. See you there. Bye.